Kazumi-sensei teaches that ninjutsu is the art of 1,000 forms and infinite variations. The weapons of the ninja were as diverse as they were deadly.
The ninja would employ tools that fit into the community in a way that maybe they didn't even look like a weapon.
We've got a number of great new weapons that are making their first appearance in Ninja Gaiden 2. The goal is to make every weapon good enough that you want to play the entire game through it. And you're going to feel like you're having a unique experience each time. We have the scythe.
What this is a long, heavy, powerful weapon that Hayabusa can wield that has a very large area of effect. It has a very wide arc. This is something that is very fun to wield, and it's very satisfying in terms of just being able to cut through enemies.
There are the claws.
What this basically does is turn Hayabusa into a human weapon.
He can run on walls, he can jump. Claws allow him to apply that to fighting.
All of his martial arts and all of his athletics and acrobatics are able to be used to attack the enemy.
The long bow, back in ancient times, was about 6 feet tall, which is actually taller than the people in those days. And it was a great weapon because they were everywhere, a walking staff. It didn't attract a lot of attention.
The lunar staff was a weapon that has appeared in previous games. Before, it was really just a staff. In Ninja Gaiden 2, it is a staff that has iron weights on each end that are connected with chains. And each of these iron weights have spikes, so, as you can imagine, as you're swinging this thing around, it is incredibly lethal.
The Kasari-gama was a very interesting weapon. On one end would be a blade on a handle sticking out, long chain, and on the end of the chain would be a weight.
The cool thing about this weapon is you can not only do cutting attacks with the sickle portion of it, but you can also do pulverizing and smashing attacks with the iron weight that's attached on the end.
And so in the heat of battle, this weight thrown at an attacker would hit, aiming at the hands, very fragile bones there holding a sword, or the face, something that would make that attacker flinch. Could you imagine the terror that the swordsman felt? And all of a sudden, here's this hit to the face. Where did that come from?
You have the tonfa. It was what the nightstick is based off. You hold them in each hand and it's swung to hit enemies. And this is really cool because it's a hitting action, not a slicing action. So when that connects with an enemy, you're gonna feel that crack.
These are weapons of Okinawan origin. You hold them in both hands and swing them. They're very similar to the claws in that they're very speedy and can hit the enemy multiple times. With the tonfas, you can actually pulverize that limb into basically ground meat.
Very important to combat in ancient Japan was the Japanese sword, the katana. It was used on foot by samurai in later years. So that was the #1 weapon. And the ninja, of course, had to be very familiar, defending against that sword, but also using swords themselves.
In the first game, the dragon sword was pretty much considered the default weapon and the best weapon, and if you wanted to get through the game easily, use the dragon sword.
You'll notice that the dragon sword this time around is a lot more flexible. It has a lot more moves. It can really be a signature weapon for Hayabusa and is a great partner to all the obliteration techniques.
There was a skill of fighting with 2 swords at the same time, and so you can imagine how confusing that would be to an enemy who's used to seeing just one at a time.
The dual katanas were present in Ninja Gaiden Sigma, but in that game they were incomplete. It didn't have a lot of moves and there were very few things that you could do with it. This time around though, we were obviously re-envisioning it as a completely new weapon. You have obliteration techniques, and there are so many more things that you can do with this weapon, so I certainly encourage everyone to get their hands on the new dual katanas.